Nice to see you again. So, hello. We are here at the Canada Kindful Symposium organized by Professor Dr. Bhante Saranapala, an amazing, amazing man that we fondly call the urban Buddhist monk. And I have got Brian Crombie with me on this. Crombie?
Yes.
Did I say that correctly?
Yes, Crombie.
Now you see, that's because I've been in the background and he's just come off stage. I have to say I was very impressed by what you said on stage.
Oh, thank you so much.
So you're here at the symposium and you came as a presenter, and there was something you said that really struck a chord with me. You said fall in love with the person who you want to become.
A future vision of yourself. I was a child psychologist in London, England, who did a big study of different ways of being successful, particularly with troubled teenagers.
Yeah.
And he found out that the best way was to actually have a vision that you fell in love with, a vision of who you would be, you would fall in love with, whether it was an astronaut or a doctor or whatever. And the desire for that had to be akin to falling in love with it.
Oh, I love it. And then the other thing you said, and that I just went, I literally wanted to start applauding, and I didn't want to be rude, so I just kept my hands to myself, is you were speaking about this cooperation that we need to have. You know, how politicians in the past would have a chat and they'd go and have a beer afterwards, and once they debated their politics and they debated their economics. And these days, when, especially now we're in an election in Canada here, so what happens is the opponents, they become enemies and they try and run each other down, and it's such a negative energy. I loved what you said on stage. I really did. I want to just say that is so in line with Bhante's philosophy of a kindful Canada. But I'd like to hear from you. What do you think about Bhante's work? What do you think about the symposium and the
Well, I think
importance
the symposium
of it?
is excellent. I wish, frankly, it could be broadcast, gavel to gavel on TV, or more people could come see it and more people could be exposed to it. Because I do think that there's a lot of learning. And when I compare some of the things that I've been studying in my own doctorate, my own business life, and some of the things that he talks about, there's a lot of similarity. Not 100%, but then never is 100% one thesis equal to another thesis. But being kindful and being mindful, I think, are critically important. And when you think about mindfulness, falling in love with the vision of yourself is mindful, because you can't fall in love with a future vision. You can't come up with that vision of who you're going to be unless you mindfully think about it. And mindfulness to me is meditation. It's prayer. It's quiet moments, it's thinking, it's good conversations where you actually authentically listen to the other person rather than just talk all the time and force feed yourself into someone. And so I think being mindful is an excellent description of what you need to be a successful leader, whether it's business, politics, life. Probably has a lot to do with good positive relationships, whether between people or between couples. So I think there's a lot there. And kindfulness, or kindful, I think is, the comments I made in regards to compassion and to cooperation. I don't think if you're kind to people, you're ever going to have that kind of achievement. And one of the speakers today talked about coalition governments or minority governments. And I do think that our politics has become way too partisan, way too argumentative. But frankly, I think business has to a certain extent as well. And to a bit that's fed by our media, where this kind of nice conversation wouldn't attract a lot of people on CNN or Fox. They want people that would be fighting and arguing with one another. And I think that we've lost that kindfulness. And I firmly believe in the, pay it forward. I firmly believe in the do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. I believe in a good act, because I think that whether, and I don't think you do it because you're going to get something back. I think you do it because it's the right thing to do, and it's nice, and it gives you a good positive feeling. And I do think it will then come back to you from wherever. One of the lines that I speak about on some of the seminars that I do for business people is changing sort of your attitude about what you do. So an example I give is, would you rather work with a real estate agent who is trying to sell someone a house, or a real estate agent that's trying to find a family a home?
A home, obviously. I would go for a home.
And it's finding a family rather than selling you, right? And one is transactional and the other one is assisting you, helping you. And the reality is, in the end, they might do the same thing. But one, they don't really care if you're going to be happy. They just want you to buy so they get their fee. The other one, they're worried about the long term. There's this great thing, I've got a whole chapter in my thesis on it, called the Prisoner's Dilemma game. Now, you've probably heard about this, but the Prisoner's Dilemma game is when there's two people that are being charged with something, and it's often done with just a 4-quadrant square, and if both of the prisoners cop on the other, then they're both going to go to jail. And if one cops on the other and the other one doesn't, then one person goes to jail. And if they both cooperate and they both say nothing, none of them go to jail. And the right thing to do is therefore to not cop on the other, to keep your mouth shut. And this isn't necessarily a lesson on prisoners, it's just an interesting lesson on cooperation versus competition. If you play one game, often the best thing to do is to be the unkind person. And cop on the other, because the chances are a lot of other people are cooperative to start with, and you can take advantage of a cooperative person. But it's fascinating, as they've done computer simulations of this and simulations with real people of this, if there's more than one game, the right strategy is to cooperate, and it's called the shadow of the future. If there's a shadow of the future, in other words, reputation matters, you cooperate. If you're never going to do business with this person, then you can be an unnice person. But the reality is in life is you're always going to be doing business with people. Your reputation, particularly in today's social media world, your reputation counts for everything. And so therefore, you got to cooperate. And it's interesting because you go into the analysis of this. If someone doesn't cooperate, what's the right strategy? It's called a tit for tat, which is what you do is you don't cooperate once. But then you come back to cooperation right away, and so it's like in nuclear war or in military, they call it a measured and equal response. You don't do too much. You discipline someone by a little bit, but then you come back to cooperate, and so therefore long-term cooperation is the best strategy, which I think is kindfulness.
It is, and of course this is what Bhante does with this event. Is he brings people from all walks of life, all religions, all faiths, all beliefs, all cultures together. And science. He brings science and religion together, and he brings politics and economics, everything into the symposium. So everybody has a voice. And at the end of the day, when you have listened to all the speakers, you can bring everyone together into one succinct moment of kindfulness. And you're definitely part of this movement. If you haven't yet seen Brian on stage or listened to his work, they can listen to you. Got a radio show as well. You want to tell them about the radio show?
I have a radio show every Friday on Saga 960. It's more politics and economics. But if you're interested in this topic or my Power of Co topic, I have a TEDx talk, which I have 2 TEDx talks actually that are both online. That you can find, one talking about Power of Co, Community Power Co, which is what I talked about today. Another one talking about transformational transit, which is something else that I'm passionate about, which is infrastructure and transit. And you can find it just going to briancrombie.com. And briancrombie.com has links to all my videos.
briancrombie.com. There you go, guys, you've got it. So I want to say thank you so much for popping into our mobile studio here and coming and chatting to us about Bhante and the symposium. It's been wonderful meeting you, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.